Hey everybody, it's Friendo, and I haven't done a video in a while, but I want to talk about this argument that MRAs have been making about um, reproductive freedom, about reproductive equality. Um, they're presenting the argument that reproductive freedom means that men have the right to disavow their responsibility to a pregnancy, to just throw up their hands and say, I didn't want this child, so I will not support it. And saying that this is the equivalent of women having the right to have an abortion. And I think this argument fails on a couple different levels. So first off, there is no equivalency on the subject of pregnancy. This, to me, is very reminiscent of arguments made by radical feminists that women's equality, their ability to be free and safe in society, depends on being protected from predation by men. And this seems to be the case at face value, right? No one can be free if they are being preyed upon. But they take it to this whole other level that that women's safety should be some primary concern, even when nothing has actually happened. That it's the gender dimorphism, the fact that men have the ability, more or less, to inflict violence upon women when they feel like doing so, that is the oppression. And I'm hearing the same sort of thing from MRAs, that it's this dimorphism, the fact that women have all the power in having pregnancy. That's the oppression. That's the oppression on men. And so to begin with, there is no equality in terms of reproductive freedom between men and women. While men contribute 50% of the genetic material and women contribute 50% of the genetic material, pregnancy is something that is endured 100% by women. As men, we have no enormous flush of hormones into our systems. Nothing is put inside of us that alters our body chemistry, changes our nutritional requirements, and is potentially life-threatening in every case. This creates an element of special status for pregnant women. And I'll link below the UN Charter on Human Rights. Motherhood and childhood are protected categories. This is part of the Charter. And in talking about rights, particularly using this word rights, or freedoms, I think it's worthwhile for anyone to become familiar with this particular document. It's kind of a legal guide stone, kind of a legal touchstone for determining what is and what isn't a right. That is, we as individuals or as ideologues don't really get to just declare what rights are. We have to find some legal justification for our arguments. I, of course, am not an ideologue. I'm just a citizen. I'm not a feminist, I'm not an MRA. I'm a gender egalitarian, but that's not an ideology either. That's just the consequence of the positions that I take, that gender in and of itself is irrelevant. It's people, it's individuals who have the rights to freedom. But when it comes to the issue of pregnancy, we see that it's something that is, forgive the use of the word here, inflicted upon women, something that is endured by women. Men have the option of supporting or abandoning. Women have the option of aborting, but that is something that relates entirely to their bodies. It is not a right vis-a-vis disavowing responsibility to a pregnancy. It is not the right to get rid of the economic burden of a child. It's the right of body autonomy. It is a right to terminate a condition of their own body that greatly affects their health. This fundamentally is why this assurance of equality fails at the most fundamental level. Now, at the second level, we are talking about what responsibility individuals have to children once they have been born, once they are extant. Mothers do not have the legal right to just abandon their children, to say, well, the father, he kind of wanted it, but I didn't. So there you go, no more baby. Men who are primary caregivers of their children can sue biological mothers for child support, the same way women can sue men for child support. And yes, women don't have to pay any more than men have to pay. The child support system has always had villains in it. I think where MRAs have some legitimate credibility is in arguing for people who are making their payments, are not villains, but are clearly being taken advantage of by their other. And that's where the issue lies. It's an issue of parity. It's an issue of fairness. It's not an issue of rights. In arguing that this is an issue of rights, that men have the right to totally walk away from the consequences of a pregnancy because women have the ability to have abortions, that constitutes reproductive equality that has to be fair between the two sexes, is missing the reality of the situation. If women or men abandon their children, then whoever walked away owes child support to the partner that is raising the child as the primary caregiver. That's true, that's equal if it's a man or if it's a woman. But termination of a pregnancy, which is not just the right of reproductive freedom, but also the right of an individual's body autonomy, is not equivalent to abandoning a child. And that is what MRAs are talking about. That is, in actuality, what this MRA argument is. The argument that men have the legal right, the fundamental basic human right to abandon their children. And that is not going to play over very well.